Now I'm going to pin the other half. Get it all flat and put the pins in all the way up to the underarm seam. Check that it's all flat, there's no bubbles, and you're ready to sew. You'll stitch along here, all the way around to the end. Next you're ready to do your hood. Take your hood pieces and pin them around the curve of the hood. You'll stitch this on a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance because we're going to do some decorative top stitching on this piece. We'll stitch around here and back stitch at each end. Stitch length of 2.8 or a 3. This is what this will look like. Open up your hood now and use the iron to do this part. Iron it nice and flat so the seam is going one way the whole way. Then we'll pin that, and this is where we're going to do some decorative stitching. It's called top stitching. We'll use a stitch length of number 3 for this, and you'll stitch it on the edge of the foot. It gets really tricky through the centre part, so pin up both sides first. And then when you get to the centre, make sure that you keep pulling it apart to finish the pinning. Notice how as I get closer to the curved part, I spend a little bit more time ensuring that it's pulled apart. This bit will be hard to iron as well. Make sure it's really pulled apart and flat for when you put pins in. Because this is on the outside, it can be seen, so you want this row to be really, really neat. And your hoodie would then turn out professionally. One more pin. Okay, now I've gone the whole way. So I'm going to stitch on the edge of the foot all the way along where those pins are. This is what this will turn out like. All the way around to the bottom. Okay, now to neaten up the inside, because when you wear your hood you'll see some of this, put your scissors on the side and see if you can cut off the leftover seam. Be really, really careful you don't cut a hole in your hood though. Do this the whole way, and if you need some help in the curved bit, you can get your teacher to help you. When you've done that, we now have to fold over the edge of the hood. We're folding this over about 2.5 centimetres. An old measurement's about 1 inch. It's important that you keep it even at this amount, otherwise your hood will not fit onto your garment. You may need to measure this. Okay. Keep the pins going all the way around, and when we stitch this, we're going to stitch as close as we can to that cut edge. We use a stitch length of number 2.8 or number 3. So we're going to stitch all the way around here and straight down, and as close to this edge here as you can. When your hood is done, you're ready to put it onto your garment. Find the centre front and the centre back of your garment. Do this by folding and joining up your shoulder seams and putting a pin in the centre front and the centre back. Starting at the back, join the centre back seam of your hood up with the centre of the back of your garment. Now go round to the front, and we're going to overlap the front part of the hoodie. So the two fronts will join up right in the centre there. I'm a little out of the view, there we are, and you'll put a pin through that. So they will overlap each other. Now you should be able to join up, and everything should meet up. It's a bit tricky because the edge of the hood is curved and the garment curves the other way, so you'll need to twist a little bit when you put it in place. If it's not quite fitting, you might have to stretch it slightly, but don't want to overstretch. If you do have to stretch, make sure your stretching is even the whole way along and not just left to the last pin. You may find that you have to start again with your pinning. I've had to stretch this last little bit a bit, so I've had to go back a bit and redo one of my pins there to get that nice and evenly placed. So you're going to stitch around this on a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance, right around and back on itself. When you've done this, you need to go to the iron and iron this seam down towards your garment. See how I'm pinning it in place? So when you've ironed it, you can then pin it. Make sure you stretch it apart as you pin to keep it all flat, and ensure that that seam is going downwards towards your garment. So that pins go right around, and then we turn it over and we go around the back as well. So for this, we're going to do the top stitch again and make it decorative. We use the stitch length number 3, and you'll stitch this on the edge of the foot all the way around and back to the centre back again. This will look like this, and it'll make your hoodie nice and professional.